Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist and today doing a Blackwing deck profile. So I'm really excited to do this one for you guys because Blackwings are my favorite deck of all time. And this is an all synchro version of Blackwings that have included some extremely spicy tech cards in this build for you guys. So without further ado, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can become part of notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards. Like your name, description, every single video, getting a signed cards in the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month to your Patreon. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this. So first off, we've been playing 3 copies of Simoon. Simoon is the best card in the entire deck in our monster lineup because this card instantly gets us to Black Whirlwind, which is absolutely broken. If you control no monsters and you have this card in your hand, you can actually banish one of their Blackwing monster from your hand to place Black Whirlwind from your deck face up in your spell and trap card zone. Then either send this card to the graveyard or immediate effect resolves, you get to normal summon this card without tributing, which does not take up your normal summon for the turn, which is absolutely broken since it is normal summoning itself off its own ability, which is absolutely insane. But you cannot special summon monsters from the extract for the rest of the turn except dark monsters, which is not that big of a deal, but it also has the ability during the end phase, you have to send Black Whirlwind that you placed on the field with this card's effect to the graveyard, and if you do, take 1,000 points of damage. But by then, we've already established our crazy powerful board. We then play 3 copies of Sudri. Sudri is one of the best normal summons outside of our copy of Simoon in the entire deck, because this card is really, when this card is normal summoned out to your side of the field, you get to add a card that mentions Blackwing Dragon from your deck to your hand, except another copy of this card, which is such a powerful effect to be able to search out cards like Vada directly from your deck to your hand, and it's just amazing because we have so many different targets we can actually search with this card's effect. We then play 3 copies of Shamal. Shamal is great as a 3-of in the deck as well, because you can send this card from your hand or field to the graveyard to place a Black Feather Whirlwind from your deck face up in your spell and trap card zone. And if a Blackwing Synchro monster or Blackwing Dragon is special summoned to your field while this card's in the graveyard, except during the damage step, you can banish this card and then target a Blackwing monster in the graveyard and add it to your hand, then take 700 points of damage, which is such a powerful effect for this card to have to instantly grab back, say, a copy of Sudri so you can normal summon it again off of, say, a Nuthung's ability, which is amazing because they're not once per turn with your copy of Sudri on its normal summon effect, so you can just normal summon it again later, which is so cool, or just use it for the follow-up. We then play 3 copies of Vada. Vada is definitely a 3-of in the build, and this card is absolutely amazing. It has the ability, if you control a Blackwing monster other than a copy of Vada, then you can special summon this card from your hand. And during your main phase, you can send this card from your field to the graveyard along with 1 or more Blackwing non-tuner monsters from your deck, so that the level equals exactly 8, and if you do, special summon a Blackwing Dragon from your X deck, which is such a powerful ability to instantly step into a copy of Blackwing Dragon, so we can step into Assault Dragon later on. And this card is absolutely amazing because it also helps us get our copy of Zapdos the Elite into the graveyard off its effects, which you're always sending in the grave off of Vada's effect is Zapdos plus another level 2 of your choice depending on what you have in your hand. Speaking of Zapdos the Elite, we also play a single copy of Zapdos the Elite. Zapdos the Elite is definitely a 1-of in the build. This card is amazing because you return a face-up card on your side of the field back to your hand, take 400 points of damage, and then special summon this card from the graveyard to your side of the field. But it's amazing to play in this deck as a 1-of because it is a once per duel effect, but it's the target you want to send to the graveyard off Vada's ability. We then play a single copy of Gale the Whirlwind. Gale the Whirlwind is really cool as a 1-of in the build. I absolutely love this card. It has the ability, if you control a Blackwing monster other than a Gale the Whirlwind, you can special summon this card in your hand, and once per turn, you can half the attack and defense points of 1 face-up monster opponent controls, helping you OTK your opponent. We then play a single copy of Meli The Dust. Meli The Dust can level manipulate itself, which is really cool, because if you control another Blackwing monster, you can special summon this card from your hand. And this card has the ability, when this card is normal or special summon, you can target one of their Blackwing monster control and increase this card's level by that monster's level, which is a really cool effect just to level manipulate this card so you can get the exact level you need on your side of the field. We then play a single copy of Shuranga. Shuranga is one of the most powerful support cards we've gotten in a long time for this deck, and it's really cool because it has the effect that if a monster with 2,000 or more attack is on the field, you can actually special summon this card from your hand. And this card also has the ability, if you control a Blackwing Synchro monster, quick effect, you manage this card from the graveyard and then target a face-up card your opponent controls and destroy it, making this card a disruption, but that is a once per duel effect, which is why we just play a single copy. We then play a single copy of Chinook. Chinook is really good just as a 1-of in the build because this card is a hand trap for the deck. We then play a single copy of Orochi. Orochi is also really good as a 1-of in the build because I actually play Abyss in the extract, so it's very easy to use this card to step into your copy of Abyss because if you control a Blackwing monster other than a copy of Orochi, you can special summon this card from your hand, which is a great ability to instantly get this card out on your side of the field and use it as a level 1 tuner to step into your copy of Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Abyss. We then play 3 copies of Lubellion. Lubellion is really insane in the build to be able to play the Bestial cards in this deck because Lubellion has the ability that you can actually special summon this card from your hand or graveyard by turning a level 6 or higher Dark Dragon monster. This card also has the ability that you can send this card from your hand to the graveyard to add a Bestial monster from your deck to the hand, except another copy of Lubellion, and during your main phase, you can place a Branded Continuous Spell or Trap from your deck face up on the field, which we're only playing Branded Regained in this deck, so we're only going to be able to put Branded Regain on our side of the field with this card's effect. We then play a single copy of Magnamut. Magnamut is really cool because it's basically just a free body to step into a bunch of cool synchro plays. And this card has the ability that just like all of your Bestials that are level 6, that you can actually target a light or dark monster in either player's graveyard and banish it. And if you do, special summon this card in your hand. And it's a quick effect if your opponent controls a monster. But this card has the ability that this card is special summoned to activate its effect, or it activates its effect and it's special summoned to your side of the field. You can activate this card's effect that during the end phase of this turn, you get to add a dragon monster from your deck or grave to the hand. The turn this card is special summoned, which is such a cool ability to instantly get a search off this card during the end phase to be able to search out cards like Druis Worm. Druis Worm is great in the build as 1-of because this card is just a card that just spot removes cards off the field if it does leave the field. We then play a single copy of Saunir and a single copy of Baldrake. These cards are just really good as 1-of each in the build, and they help out a lot in the deck, but you only need 1 of each of the level 6s in the deck because they're different names and they're all once per turn, which is why I play them all at 1 each. We then also play a single copy of Assault Synchron to round out the monsters. Assault Synchron is really good because it's a small world bridge in the deck for a bunch of cool plays, plus it can special summon itself to your side of the field by just taking 700 points of damage if you do draw into it, so it's really not a drawback in the deck at all. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get in to the spells. So for the spells, we're going to start with a single copy of Called by the Grave. Called by the Grave is definitely a 1-of in the build just to stop your opponent's hand traps while you're going in for all of your plays. We then play a single copy of Branded Regained. Branded Regained helps out a lot in this deck just as a 1-of because this card has the ability that if a light or dark monster is banished except during the damage step, you can target one of those monsters and place that monster on the bottom of the deck. And if you do, draw a card, which helps out a lot in this build. Also, once per turn, if your opponent normally special summons a monster except during the damage step, you can actually target a Bestial monster in your graveyard and special summon it to your side of the field, which is a really awesome ability just to help you swarm the board with your Bestial monsters, because at the end of the day, those monsters do have 2,500 attack points, which is really cool. We then play a single copy of Black Feather Whirlwind. Black Feather Whirlwind is amazing, but you really only need a single copy in this deck. I used to play 2, but I feel like 1 is really all you need because you can easily get 2 with your copy of Shamal, and there's so many different ways to search Shamal from the deck to the hand. But this card has the ability once per turn, if you special summon a Dark Synchro monster from the extract, you can actually target 1 Blackwing monster or Blackwing dragon that's banished during the graveyard with less attack than that special summon monster and special summon it. And also once per turn, if a dark monster you control would be destroyed by battle or by card effect, you can remove a Black Feather counter from your field instead, which is a really cool effect just to give you a little bit of protection. Now the cool thing is this card is a soft once per turn, meaning if you bounce this card back to your hand with Zapdos the Elite and reactivate it, it will go off again, which is absolutely broken. And this card is actually the main target that we use with our copy of Zapdos to bounce it back to our hand. We then play 2 copies of Triple Tactics Talent. Triple Tactics Talent helps out a lot in the build just in case our opponent does hand trap us. We do get to draw 2 cards, take control of the opponent's monster, look at our opponent's hand, choose a card from it, and shuffle it into the deck. This card is really cool just to basically stop our opponent from hand trapping us any further or dig for more extenders. We then play 3 copies of Small World. Small World has a lot of bridges in this deck to be able to use to help us get to our copy of Simoon and a bunch of other cool plays in this deck. So this card is definitely a 3-of in the build. We then play 3 copies of Pot of Prosperity. Pot of Prosperity is amazing in the deck, so we don't need every single synchro monster in our extract to be able to play. So this card is really cool just to help us dig into the deck for the exact cards that we need. We then play 3 copies of Black Whirlwind. Black Whirlwind is one of my favorite cards in the entire game. I absolutely love this card because it has the ability, when a Blackwing monster is normal summoned to your side of the field, you can add a Blackwing monster from your deck to your hand with less attack than that monster, which is such a powerful effect because it's actually not a once per turn. So if you normal summon your copy of Simoon to your side of the field off its effects, it will go off. If you normal summon for your turn, it will go off. If you normal summon off of Nothung's ability, it will go off again. If you have multiple copies of Black Whirlwind on your side of the field, they all go off when you normal summon. It stacks. This card is absolutely broken. It's definitely a 3-of in the deck and helps you search out the exact cards that you need. I've at one point in games searched my entire deck of all the Blackwings in the entire deck and run out of targets, which is a common occurrence for Blackwing players because of how broken this card is. So that's it for these spells, guys. Let's get into the traps. So for the traps, we're just going to be playing one, and that's going to be a single copy of Twin Shadow. Twin Shadow is an amazing card just for its artwork alone. I love this card. It has the ability to shuffle 2 of your Blackwing monsters, a tuner and a non-tuner, and it's banished from your graveyard into the deck or the extract to be able to special summon a Blackwing synchro monster or a Blackwing dragon from your extract whose level equals those monsters, essentially letting you recycle your resources to step into a synchro monster, which is absolutely amazing. This card also has the ability, if you control 2 or more Blackwing monsters, you can activate this card from your hand, so you don't even have to set this card to your side of the field to help you recycle your resources to step into more synchro plays. This card is amazing as a 1-of in the build. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, guys, we're going to start off with Blackwing Full Armor Master. And this time, since it's a synchro heavy version that does not turn skip, we're playing 2 copies. This card is super cool. It's actually one of my favorite synchro monsters ever created because of just how broken this card absolutely is. This card is insane. And as usual, it's unaffected by other card effects. And each time a monster your opponent controls activates its effect, you place a wedge counter on that opponent's monster, maximum 1. After that effect resolves, you also get the ability once per turn, you get to target a monster your opponent controls with a wedge counter on it and take control of it. And also, once per turn, during your end phase, you can actually destroy all monsters on the field that have wedge counters, which is absolutely broken. But for that first line alone, then it's unaffected by all other card effects. It's just completely broken. This card is amazing as a 2-of in the build because your opponent's not going to out 2 of these cards on the field. If you put 2 Blackwing Full Armor Masters on the field, it's going to be really tough for your opponent to deal with both of these cards, along with all the other synchro monsters we're playing in this deck. We then play 2 copies of Blackwinged Assault Dragon. This card is one of my favorite cards in the entire game as well, because this card has the ability, it must either be synchro summoned or special summoned from your extract by banishing a tuner synchro monster and a Blackwing dragon from face up from your field or graveyard. Meaning if you can make one, you can make the second one because you just banish the materials from the graveyard for the second copy of this card. Also, each time your opponent activates a monster effect, you place a black feather counter on this card, and when that effect resolves, and if you do, inflict 700 points of damage to your opponent. During your opponent's turn, quick effect, you can trade this card with 4 or more black feather counters on it and destroy all cards on the field, which is a really insane ability. We then play a single copy of Blackwinged Dragon. You only really need a single copy of this card in the deck to be able to step into your copy of Assault Dragon, but you do have to play 1 copy of this card for your copy of Vada, so you can step into Assault Dragon in the deck, and it's just amazing to be able to play in the build. Definitely give us a like for the Starlight rare, guys. It's really, really cool. We then play a single copy of Dispatter. Dispatter is great because this card is a walking negate and can also revive back our banished cards, which Blackwings do a lot. We then play a single copy of Chaos Angel. Chaos Angel is one of the best synchro monsters ever created in the entire game, so we have to play one copy of this card. It has the ability you don't even have to use a tuner to make this card. You can just make this card with any monsters on the field that are light and dark. And if this card is summoned to your side of the field, you target a card on the field and banish it. And also, depending on what attribute you use for this card, depends on the effects that it gets. If you use light monsters, then synchro monsters you control are unaffected by monster effects activated by your opponent. And if you use dark monsters, which we always do, monsters you control cannot be destroyed by battle, which is such a powerful effect. We then play a single copy of Abyss. Abyss is really good in the build as a 1-of because this card is just a awesome walking negate. We then play a single copy of Scarred Dragon Archfiend. This card is really cool as a 1-of in the deck, because this card has the ability, this card's name becomes Red Dragon Archfiend while on the field or in the graveyard. And if this card is sent from the monster zone to the graveyard, you can actually special summon a Red Dragon Archfiend from your extract, and this card it is treated as a synchro summon. Then, if this card is sent to the graveyard as a synchro material for a Dark Dragon synchro monster, you can destroy all attack position monsters that your opponent controls, making it super easy to OTK your opponent. We then play a single copy of Red Dragon Archfiend to go along with our copy of Scar Red. This card is really cool to be able to play in the deck, and super nostalgic that we get to play Blackwing Dragon and Red Dragon Archfiend in the same build. We then play a single copy of Draco Berserker. Draco Berserker is just too good not to play because it is a dark monster, so we can easily go into this card. As the ability, when your opponent activates a monster effect, quick effects, you can banish it, and this card just attacks multiple times and gets absolutely massive. We then play a single copy of Obsidian Hawk Joe. This card is so cool in the deck because you can bring back level 5 or higher winged beast monsters from your graveyard to your side of the field, which helps out a lot in the build. One copy of Raikiri. Raikiri is helpful in the deck because it can pop multiple cards on the field. We then play a single copy of Borea Storm. Borea Storm is the tuner synchro monster we're going to use to step into our copy of Assault Dragon. And this card can actually level manipulate itself because if this card is synchro summoned, you can send a Blackwing monster from your deck to the graveyard, and if you do, this card's level becomes the monster's level, which is a really cool effect. We then finally play a single copy of Nothung to round out the monsters and all the different synchro monsters. And this card is really cool because it does 800 points of burn damage to your opponent. Then you can target a face-up monster your opponent controls, and it loses 800 attack points. And also during your main phase, you can normal summon a Blackwing monster in addition to your normal summoner set, which will make your copy of Black Whirlwind go off again. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you enjoyed. This deck is super fun and actually my favorite deck of all time. I absolutely love Blackwings. They're so fun to be able to play. They're absolutely crazy when you play them pure synchro, and it's so cool to be able to include the Bestial cards in this deck to be able to just not have to turn skip with Yugioh or Calamity, and it's just really insane the fields that you can make with this deck. So that's gonna do it for this one, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can become part of the notification squad, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.